Imagine standing before a mirror, not to examine your face, but to pose a far deeper question. Am I truly living wisely? It's a simple, quiet inquiry, yet it carries tremendous power. After all, wisdom isn't measured by how much you know or how many accolades you have, but by how you choose to live each day, how you endure trials, and how you treat others when no one is watching. Now consider the flip side, foolishness. We often think of foolishness as a lack of intelligence, but the Stoics saw it differently. To them, foolishness begins when we turn away from reason, virtue, and self-awareness. So, as we explore some potentially uncomfortable truths, remember, this isn't about passing judgment or calling names. It's about shining a light on behaviors that quietly hold us back, even when we might not realize it. Each of us carries blind spot habits or mindsets we barely notice, yet they shape our destiny. Sometimes our greatest obstacles come from the very things we refuse to acknowledge. Think about it. What if the key to growth is hidden in those unseen corners we avoid? This is an invitation to peer inward with courage and honesty. If you're willing to challenge your old patterns and view yourself through the lens of timeless wisdom, then you're exactly where you need to be. Take a deep breath, and let's begin this journey of reflection together. Sign 1. Prioritizing appearance over character. Picture this: a woman who seems to have it all. Her makeup is flawless, her wardrobe carefully curated, her social media posts perfectly polished. She turns heads wherever she goes, exuding a confidence that seems unshakable. On the surface, she appears to be truly thriving. But look a little closer, and the illusion begins to crumble. Beneath the stunning exterior, there is little substance. Her energy is consumed by how she looks, not by who she is. According to Stoic philosophy, this obsessive focus on outward beauty is one of the clearest signs of foolishness. It's not that beauty or style is inherently wrong, far from it. The problem comes when appearance is used as a distraction from what truly matters. The Stoics believed our worth isn't defined by what the eye can see, but by the integrity of our soul, the strength of our character, and the quality of our thoughts. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, it's your inner world, your virtues, your choices, your discipline that determines who you truly are. Physical beauty will inevitably fade, but character endures. Now, there's nothing wrong with caring for your appearance. Dressing well and presenting yourself with pride can reflect a healthy self-respect. However, when you elevate appearance above all else, when your sense of worth hinges on likes, compliments, or comparisons, you lose touch with the deeper parts of yourself. And that, the Stoics would warn, is a dangerous path. Why? Because what's external is always fleeting. The glow of youth, the admiration of others, the attention you garner of it can vanish in an instant. When your identity is built on such a shaky foundation, what remains when it inevitably fades? Usually, insecurity, envy, and emptiness. The foolish woman clings to what is ephemeral. The wise woman builds her life on what is lasting. True beauty, the Stoics teach, lies in how we live through our patience, our courage, our compassion. They might ask, are you cultivating your mind with wisdom? Are you strengthening your soul through discipline and virtue? Are you choosing kindness, honesty, and humility, even when no one is watching? These are the qualities that leave a lasting mark. It's not your eyeliner or your outfit that will be remembered in the end, but your example. Think about it. Would you rather be remembered for how striking you looked in a photograph, or for how deeply you touch someone's life through your strength and kindness? If you spend all your energy chasing approval through your image, you rob yourself of a deeper kind of fulfillment. That deeper fulfillment is the kind that doesn't wither with age or disappear with the next trend. It only grows with time. So, how do we shift from surface to substance? Start by reflecting on what you truly value. Ask yourself, am I nurturing the person I want to become? When beauty fades, what will remain of me? These are the questions the Stoics would have us ponder. They understood that chasing beauty without cultivating virtue is like polishing a shield while neglecting the warrior who wields it. So the next time you catch yourself scrolling through flawless images, comparing your looks, or obsessing over how others see you, pause and take a breath. Ask the deeper question, who am I becoming? Because in the end, your outer image might turn heads, but it's your inner character that truly shapes lives. Sign 2. Ignoring self. Responsibility. There's a quiet yet powerful principle in Stoic philosophy. Your life is your responsibility, no exceptions and no excuses. As hard as it is to accept, no one else can live your life for you, and no one else is to blame when things fall apart. Still, how often do we find ourselves pointing fingers when something goes wrong? It's tempting to blame our parents, our boss, our partner, society at large, or even fate. We catch ourselves thinking, if only people treated me better, if only the world were fair, then I'd be happy. That mindset is understandable. But here's the problem. It hands away all our power. A woman who refuses to take responsibility for her life ends up living as a prisoner to her circumstances. She waits waiting for life to magically change, for someone else to fix the situation, for luck or rescue to arrive. But as she waits, nothing really improves, because genuine growth can't start until she claims ownership of her choices. The Stoics understood that we cannot control everything that happens to us. Life is often unpredictable and unfair, but we can control how we respond. In that response lies our freedom and our wisdom. Picture someone who constantly complains about her job. Yes, her boss might be harsh. The pay is low. The hours are long. Those grievances may be very real. But ask, is she doing anything to change her situation? Is she improving her skills, looking for a new opportunity, adjusting her attitude, or finding ways to cope despite the difficulties? Or is she simply spinning in a cycle of blame and resentment? Embracing responsibility doesn't mean pretending problems don't exist or that every situation is just. It means refusing to let those problems dictate the course of your life. The moment you stop casting yourself as the victim and start seeing yourself as the author of your own story, an important shift occurs. You move from victim to creator of your life, and that transformation, subtle as it might be, changes everything. Of course, taking responsibility is uncomfortable. It takes humility and courage. It means admitting that sometimes our own choices, reactions, or habits contributed to our troubles. That admission can sting our pride, yet that very discomfort is what makes responsibility so powerful. Once you acknowledge your part in a problem, you reclaim the ability to change the narrative. This isn't about blaming yourself for every misfortune. It's about being honest with yourself. It's asking, what was my part in this? What can I learn from it? What can I do better next time? Instead of shrinking in the face of adversity, you treat each setback as a lesson. The wise woman doesn't see mistakes as permanent failures. She sees them as stepping stones toward better choices. A woman who embraces self-responsibility doesn't wait for life to be perfect to find peace. She creates her own peace through her attitude and efforts. She doesn't run from problems or expect others to solve them for her. She faces challenges head-on, recognizing that every obstacle is an opportunity to build inner strength and resilience. So the next time you catch yourself making an excuse or blaming someone else for your misfortune, pause, take a breath, and remember, this is my life. No one else will live it for me, and no one else is coming to save me. I hold the pen to my story, and I choose what comes next. Now ask yourself, will this setback become just another chapter of complaints, or will it become a lesson that makes you wiser? Responsibility isn't a burden, it's a privilege and a path to freedom. The sooner you step onto that path, the sooner you become the woman you were meant to be. A woman defined not by what happens to her, but by how she chooses to respond. Sign 3. Overvaluing others' opinions. In a world where approval often feels like currency, it's all too easy to lose yourself trying to please everyone else. You photo and immediately check for likes. You share an opinion and then second guess it, worrying if it sounded smart enough. You make a decision and instantly wonder, what will they think of me? Living like this, where your worth depends on the approval of others, is a quiet trap that ensnares many of us. The Stoics would call this a form of folly. Why? Because when your sense of self is built entirely on what others think, you're building on sand. You become like a leaf in the wind, carried in whatever direction public opinion blows. The foolish woman constantly edits herself to fit in, filtering her words, her beliefs, even her dreams to avoid judgment or earn praise. And in doing so, she loses something precious, her center. There's nothing wrong with valuing feedback or wanting to be respectful. After all, we are social beings. But there's a profound difference between being open to others' perspectives and being enslaved by their validation. If every choice you make is guided by, how will people see me? You stop asking the far more important question, is this right for me? Living for the approval of others is exhausting and ultimately unsustainable. You simply cannot satisfy everyone. The more you try, the more fragmented you become. 1 minute, you're one person. The next minute, someone else. All these different masks to meet different expectations until you can barely remember which one is the real you. Here's a hard truth. No matter how carefully you live, some people will misunderstand you. Some will judge you unfairly. Some will dislike you for reasons that have nothing to do with you at all. You cannot control that. What you can control is how much you let it affect you. The Stoic approach is to rise above it. Instead of measuring yourself by the noise of public opinion, measure yourself by the quiet truth of your own integrity. Ask not, what will they think of me? But rather, did I act with wisdom? Did I stay true to my values? When your internal compass is steady, the clamor of the crowd loses its power over you. Of course, cultivating that kind of self-trust doesn't happen overnight. It's built slowly, choice by choice, day by day. It means being willing to be disliked sometimes. It means choosing honesty over popularity, depth over superficial appeal, and authenticity over approval. It means reminding yourself that being true to yourself is more valuable than being accepted by everyone. So what can you do when the craving for validation creeps in? Start by pausing. Notice the feeling without immediately reacting to it. Then gently bring your focus back to your own principles. Ask yourself, if no one else would ever know about this decision, would I still do it? That question cuts through the noise of expectations and brings you back to what really matters to you. And remember, many of the wisest, most authentic women in history were not fully appreciated by their peers. Their strength, independence, and refusal to conform often unsettled those around them. But that's all right. Living wisely isn't about universal approval. It's about being inwardly aligned with what is true and good. Your worth is not something that the crowd gets to decide. It is something you carry within you, a truth you live out quietly and courageously each day. The next time you feel the urge to shrink yourself to fit someone else's mold, pause and stand tall. Remind yourself that you were not made to be everyone's version of acceptable. You were made to be real. Sign 4. Emotional instability and overreaction. We've all seen it happen, and perhaps we've been there ourselves. A minor disagreement that erupts into a shouting match. A simple misunderstanding that snowballs into lingering bitterness. One rude comment from a stranger, one unexpected delay in your plans, and suddenly your whole day is ruined. This is what emotional instability looks like. According to Stoic wisdom, being ruled by such runaway emotions is one of the clearest signs of a foolish mind. Now, the Stoics never taught that we should feel nothing. Being human means experiencing anger, sadness, joy, and fear. But wisdom lies in not allowing those feelings to take control of our actions. The difference between a wise person and a foolish one isn't whether they have emotions, it's how they handle them. A woman who is ruled by her emotions reacts first and thinks later. She might say hurtful things in the heat of anger, or make rash decisions she soon regrets. Her mood swings end up dictating the quality of her relationships, her work, and even her own peace of mind. Even worse, she often blames others for making her feel that way, without realizing that in losing her temper, she also lost her power. Here's a hard truth the Stoics would have us remember. No one else is responsible for how we choose to react. Life will test you. People will upset or disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. But none of those things can force you to lose your inner calm unless you hand that power over to them. When you let your emotions run wild, you've effectively given away the keys to your well-being. However, this isn't about suppressing what you feel. It's about transforming how you respond to those feelings. Emotional stability isn't the absence of emotion, it's the presence of courage. It's the strength to pause when you're provoked, the wisdom to breathe through your frustration, and the clarity to choose a thoughtful response instead of an impulsive reaction. Ask yourself, how often have you allowed one moment of anger to poison an entire day? How many times have you looked back and realized the real issue wasn't what happened, it was how intensely you responded to it? Emotional instability doesn't just hurt you, it affects everyone around you. It pushes people away, creates unnecessary drama, and can erode trust and respect over time. Eventually, it even shapes your reputation. People might admire your talents or intelligence, but if they feel like they're walking on eggshells around you, they won't stay in your life for long. The good news is that emotional strength can be developed, and it starts with awareness. Begin by noticing your triggers. When you feel anger, jealousy, or panic rising inside you, practice pausing. Don't immediately speak or act. Just take a moment to observe the emotion without judgment. That brief moment of stillness is powerful. It creates a space for you to regain control. In that space, ask yourself, is this reaction useful? Is it worth disturbing my peace over this? Am I about to respond wisely? Or am I just venting my discomfort? More often than not, you'll find that the situation isn't as dire as your emotions initially told you. Another key step is to focus only on what you can control. You can't control other people's behavior, or every curveball life throws at you, but you can always control how you show up to meet them calm, centered, and unshaken. That's the Stoic ideal. There will still be days when you stumble, when frustration or sorrow get the better of you, and that's all right. The goal isn't to be emotionless or perfect. It's to make progress, little by little. Each time you catch yourself and choose a calmer response, you're strengthening your emotional wisdom muscle. In a world that often seems to cheer on the loudest reaction, maintaining your composure is a rare and quietly radiant strength. So, the next time something presses all your buttons, resist the urge to explode. Instead, ask yourself, how can I stay grounded right now? Because at the end of the day, the strongest woman isn't the one who controls every external detail of life. It's the one who has learned to control herself. Sign 5. Materialism and greed. Imagine a woman who appears to have everything. She carries luxury handbags, drives the latest car, wears designer clothes, and lives in a home that could be on a magazine cover. On the surface, her life screams success and abundance. Yet if you look deeper, you might find something missing not in her bank account, but in her heart. This is the trap of materialism, when a person's sense of worth is tied to what they own rather than who they are. According to Stoic philosophy, an obsession with wealth, status, and possessions is not a sign of true success at all. It's a sign of foolishness. Why? Because material things are, by nature, fleeting. They rust, they fade, they go out of style, sometimes they can disappear overnight. Chasing material wealth can become an endless race in which the finish line always moves a little farther away. The more you acquire, the more you crave. Satisfaction always seems just one step ahead. And the irony is that the woman who believes happiness lies in having more never quite feels she has enough. Meanwhile, the deeper forms of fulfillment pass her by. True wealth, the Stoics would argue, has very little to do with how much you own. It has everything to do with how content you are. A rich life is measured by meaning, purpose, and inner peace, things that no price tag can capture. You can't buy genuine satisfaction or a soul at peace in any marketplace. Now, materialism isn't always obvious. It doesn't just show up as love of luxury goods. Sometimes it hides behind what we call ambition or success. Maybe you're not into fancy cars or jewelry, but you're obsessed with climbing the career ladder, collecting titles, or proving your success to the world. You tell yourself, if I just reach that next goal, then I'll finally feel worthy. But each time you get what you want, the satisfaction is fleeting, and the bar just moves higher again. This kind of never-ending striving isn't real growth. It's a hunger that can never be fully satisfied. The Stoic path invites us to question our pursuits. Am I chasing this because it truly aligns with my values and brings me joy? Or am I chasing it because I'm afraid of seeming small or inadequate in the eyes of others? Breaking free from greed doesn't require you to give away all your possessions or stop enjoying life's blessings. It simply means learning to value things for what they are and not as substitutes for true happiness. The Stoics practice this through intentional simplicity. Sometimes, they would deliberately live with less, eating plain food, wearing simple clothing, not because poverty is virtuous, but to remind themselves that they could be content with little and that their well-being did not depend on excess. In doing so, they trained themselves to find peace in simplicity and to build strength in self-restraint. You don't have to renounce all modern comforts to adopt a wiser mindset, but you can start shifting your focus. Begin by asking yourself, what do I already have? that I'm grateful for? Am I pursuing or purchasing this out of genuine interest and joy, or out of fear and status seeking? Will this add real value to my life, or am I trying to fill in with it? When you stop measuring your worth by what you accumulate, a remarkable thing happens. You start to feel lighter and freer. Your confidence grows more rooted in who you are than in what you own. You realize that true power isn't in the objects that decorate your life, but in the values and principles that define it. So if you find yourself constantly longing for more money, more stuff, the next big upgrade, take a moment to pause and look inward. Remind yourself that the richest life is not built by accumulating things. It's built by appreciating what you have, simplifying when you can, and holding fast to what genuinely feeds your soul. At the end of the day, nobody will remember you for the brand of shoes you wore or the car you drove. What people cherish is the way you made them feel, the values you stood for, and the depth of character you brought to every interaction. That's the kind of wealth that never fades. Sign 6. Avoiding self, reflection, and growth. Out of all the signs of foolishness, this one can be the most quietly destructive: the refusal to look inward. Without self-reflection, there is no growth. And without growth, gaining wisdom becomes impossible. It's often easier to stay endlessly busy or distracted than to sit alone with our thoughts and honestly examine our lives. Think about it. It's so tempting to scroll on your phone, binge on entertainment, or fill every spare minute with errands and social media, rather than pause and ask yourself, am I living the life I want? Am I becoming the person I aspire to be? A life without reflection is like a journey without a compass. You might keep moving, but you end up going in circles, making the same mistakes and wondering why nothing ever changes. Foolishness in this form doesn't always announce itself. It often wears the disguise of comfort and routine. It shows up when you avoid constructive feedback, when you brush off your mistakes instead of learning from them, or when you convince yourself that personal growth is something only other people need to do. The Stoics taught that self-examination isn't about beating yourself up or dwelling on failures. It's about realignment. It's the act of observing your own thoughts and actions calmly and honestly, and then using that awareness to course correct. A wise woman does not fear her flaws or hide from them. She faces them head on. She treats each mistake as a teacher, not a trophy of shame. To her, a misstep isn't a permanent mark against her character. It's information, guidance for how to improve. Every failure becomes an opportunity to adjust her approach, rather than a reason to give up entirely. Importantly, self-reflection doesn't require a secluded retreat or hours of meditation. It can begin in small moments. Maybe at the end of the day, you take a few minutes to ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I let fear or anger drive me? If I could relive today, what would I do differently? These simple questions open the door to insight. It also means catching yourself in the heat of the moment. In the middle of a tense conversation, you might pause and ask, am I reacting out of old habit or responding with wisdom? Or when you're faced with a decision, does this choice reflect the kind of person I want to be? This kind of ongoing mindfulness turns everyday life into a classroom for growth. Another powerful tool is to seek out honest feedback, not the shallow kind of feedback that just flatters your ego, but the kind that challenges you, the kind you might get from a friend or mentor who cares enough to tell you the uncomfortable truth. It can hurt to hear where you've fallen short, but remember, the goal is improvement, not perfection. Self-reflection is not about achieving some flawless state. It's about progress. The aim isn't to become someone who never makes mistakes. A person doesn't exist. The aim is to become more and more aware of yourself, because with awareness comes choice, and with choice comes change. So if you've been running from that mirror that shows your inner self, consider this your sign to stop and take a look. Your next breakthrough won't come from anyone else or anywhere outside. It will come the moment you have the courage to look deeply within yourself. Sign 7. Talking more than listening. Of all the forms that foolishness can take, this one is deceptively simple. Talking more than listening. In a world that often rewards those who speak the loudest, silence can be misinterpreted as weakness. But in Stoic philosophy, intentional, silence-patient, thoughtful listenings actually a mark of wisdom. The foolish woman feels compelled to fill every gap in conversation with her own voice. She dominates discussions, interrupts others, and offers unsolicited advice at every turn. She rarely truly listens. More often, she's just waiting for her next chance to speak. In her mind, being heard is what matters most. On the surface, this habit might look like confidence, but more often than not, it hides insecurity or fear. Maybe she fears that if she's not constantly asserting herself, she'll be overlooked. Or she mistakenly believes that speaking more will make her more powerful or respected. In truth, the inability to listen is a barrier to learning. When you never stop to listen, you trap yourself in an echo chamber of your own thoughts and words. You end up reinforcing the same ideas, the same opinions never challenged, never stretched, never improved. The Stoics understood that real growth begins with humility, and humility begins with listening. Not a passive, half-hearted kind of listening, but active, engaged presence. It means entering a conversation with a genuine desire to understand, rather than to prove something or to control the outcome. It's about being more interested in understanding others than in being understood by others. And this isn't just about etiquette, it's a spiritual discipline. Listening well requires quieting the ego, setting aside your need to be right or interesting, and making space for someone else's perspective. When you truly listen, whether it's to another person, to the experiences life sends your way, or even to the quiet voice of your own intuition, you become more grounded and wise. You find that you react less and respond more. You stop assuming you know everything and start discovering how much you can learn. By contrast, the woman who never stops talking might win attention for a moment, but she misses out on real connection. People may politely nod and smile, but inside, they often feel unheard or even invisible in her presence. Over time, they drift away emotionally, because everyone longs to be heard and valued. Learning to listen does not mean silencing your own voice completely. It means knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet. It means recognizing that not every moment requires your commentary, and not every silence must be filled. Sometimes, the most meaningful thing you can offer in a conversation is your full, attentive presence. So how can you become a better listener in daily life? Start by observing yourself during your next conversation. When someone else is talking, notice. Are you truly hearing their words? Or already crafting your response? Do you find yourself interrupting or steering the discussion back to yourself? If the urge to interject arises, gently remind yourself to pause. Ask, is what I'm about to say truly helpful or necessary? Or am I speaking just to feel important? Try choosing intentional silence now and then. For example, spend time with a friend and practice just listening, resisting the urge to fix their problem or add your own story. Let their words sink in before you respond. And remember to extend that listening ear inward as well. This means listening to your deeper intuition and values, rather than the noisy chatter of anxiety or ego. Often, the insights we need come not when we're talking, but when we're quietly paying attention. At its core, talking incessantly and seldom listening isn't a trivial social habit, it's a block to wisdom. It disconnects you from the knowledge others offer, from the truth of a situation, and even from the messages your own heart is trying to send. A woman who talks constantly might gain momentary attention, but a woman who listens intently gains understanding and respect. So ask yourself, when was the last time I truly listened to another person, or even to my own better judgment? When was the last time I chose to remain silent, not because I had nothing to say, but because I wanted to learn? In the stillness of those moments, truth has a chance to speak, and only the wise are willing to hear it. So there you have it. 7 signs of a foolish or unwise way of living, seen through the lens of Stoic wisdom. The purpose of exploring these signs isn't to shame anyone or point fingers. It's an invitation to self-reflect and recognize where we might have room to grow. After all, true wisdom isn't about never making mistakes or having life all figured out. It's about being willing to learn and improve continually. Each of these 7 signs points to an area where we could be out of alignment with our best selves and deepest values. The encouraging news is that the moment you become aware of a weakness or blind spot, you earn the power to change it. Awareness takes honesty, to admit, yes, that's me sometimes. And growth takes courage, the courage to start doing things differently. Remember, you don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Even the smallest shift in perspective, the quietest moment of self-awareness, is a step toward a wiser and more grounded life. Maybe today you resonated strongly with one of these signs. If so, that's a great place to start. Ask yourself, what is one gentle, positive change I can make starting now? Be patient and compassionate with yourself as you take on this journey. Wisdom is a path, not a destination. Every day is an opportunity to align a little more with the person you truly want to be. If this discussion stirred something in you, consider sharing it with a friend or reflecting on it further. And if you'd like, you can join the conversation by leaving a comment with 2 simple words: my reflection. It signals that you're committing to looking within and growing wiser. There's always more to explore and learn on the path to wisdom, so stay curious and keep going. The very act of choosing to seek wisdom, especially when it's challenging, means you're already becoming stronger and more empowered in the truest sense of the word. Your next step awaits. Take it when you're ready, and remember, the journey of wisdom is a lifelong one, but every step forward is meaningful. Keep choosing wisdom, and you'll keep growing into the powerful, authentic person you were meant to be.